My wife attended a Christmas party with her romantic interest, leaving our 3 kids unattended at home. In response, I publicly shamed her for her actions at the event. Subsequently, this led to our divorce. In the heart of a quaint suburban neighborhood, adorned with twinkling Christmas lights and the fresh scent of pine, the home of Charlotte and William stood as a testament to a seemingly idyllic life. Inside, the warmth of a crackling fireplace contrasted the chill of the winter night, and the laughter of 3 children echoed through the halls, crafting a picture of domestic bliss. William, a tall man with a kind smile that rarely reached his eyes these days, was in the living room, struggling to untangle a knot of Christmas lights. The task was mundane, but his mind was elsewhere, trapped in a turmoil of emotions ever since he had stumbled upon a truth that threatened to unravel the fabric of their family. Charlotte, with her chestnut hair cascading down her shoulders, was busy in the kitchen, her hands deftly rolling out dough for gingerbread cookies. Her movements were mechanical, her thoughts distant, clouded with a secret she harbored close to her heart. Theirs had once been a love story told with pride. College sweethearts turned life partners, Charlotte and William had built a life filled with shared dreams and aspirations. But, as years passed, the mundane realities of life and the pressures of raising a family had slowly chipped away at the foundations of their marriage. It was 2 weeks before Christmas when William's world had come crashing down. A forgotten phone, a buzzing message, and a moment of curiosity had revealed the unimaginable: Charlotte, his Charlotte, was having an affair. The message, a simple, "Can't wait for the Christmas party" face blowing a kiss, from a contact named Dave, was like a dagger to his heart. At first, there was disbelief, a desperate hope that there was a misunderstanding. But as he delved deeper, sifting through more messages, the painful truth became undeniable. Charlotte was planning to attend her company's Christmas party with this man, her lover, leaving William and their children behind under the guise of work obligations. William had confronted Charlotte that night, his voice barely a whisper, his heart heavy with grief. Charlotte's confession, amidst tears and apologies, only served to deepen the wound. She spoke of loneliness, of feeling unappreciated and lost, but her words fell on deaf ears. William was consumed by a sense of betrayal. In the following days, Charlotte tried to reach out, to bridge the chasm that had opened between them, but William was distant, his hurt manifesting as cold indifference. He played the role of a doting father, masking his pain from their children, but the joy of the season eluded him. As the Christmas party approached, a plan began to form in William's mind, a confrontation. Not in the privacy of their home, but there, at the party, where her facade of a loyal wife would crumble for all to see. The day before the party, William's resolve solidified. He would go to the party uninvited, confront Charlotte and her lover in front of her colleagues, expose her infidelity for the world to see. In his mind, it was justice, a fitting response to the betrayal that had shattered his trust. Charlotte, oblivious to William's intentions, continued her preparations for the party, unaware that the festive evening she anticipated would soon turn into a stage for her public humiliation. That night, as the children slept and the house lay quiet, William sat alone, staring into the fire, the flames reflecting the turmoil within. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of their lives forever. The day dawned crisp and clear, the sun casting a gentle glow over the frosted landscape. Inside the household of Charlotte and William, the air was thick with unspoken words and the weight of impending decisions. It was the eve of the company's Christmas party, an event that was supposed to be a celebration but now loomed over them like a harbinger of doom. Charlotte moved through the day with a sense of detached automation. She was keenly aware of the growing distance between her and William since her confession. The guilt of her actions weighed heavily on her, yet a part of her yearned for the excitement and acknowledgement she found in her lover's company. Despite the turmoil, she clung to the hope that the party would provide a temporary escape from the cold reality of her marital home. Meanwhile, William was engulfed in a storm of conflicting emotions. The night before, he had confided in his oldest friend, Michael, about his plan to confront Charlotte at the party. Michael had been aghast, cautioning William against such a public spectacle. "Think of the kids," think of the consequences, he had pleaded. But William's hurt and anger were a tide too strong to be held back by reason. As the day progressed, William grappled with his thoughts, his mind replaying the years of their marriage, searching for missed signs and unheeded warnings. He remembered the laughter, the shared dreams, the way Charlotte's eyes lit up the first time they saw their new home. These memories now seemed like fragments of a different life, overshadowed by the looming betrayal. In the midst of this emotional turmoil, the couple's 3 children remained blissfully unaware, their excitement for the upcoming Christmas holidays a stark contrast to the tension that gripped their parents. They chattered about Santa and presents, their innocence a poignant reminder of what was at stake. As evening approached, Charlotte began to ready herself for the party. She chose her dress carefully, a stunning red number that she knew would turn heads. She applied her makeup with precision, each brushstroke an attempt to mask the turmoil inside. Her heart was a tangle of guilt and defiance, a part of her wishing to confess everything to the children, to seek their forgiveness. William, on the other hand, spent the evening in solitude, his plans for the night crystallizing with every passing moment. He had decided not to accompany Charlotte, citing a sudden workload. But as Charlotte left, offering a tentative goodbye, William's heart hardened. Tonight, he would expose her deceit, and with it, end the charade of their happy family. After Charlotte's departure, William sat alone, the silence of the house amplifying the chaos of his thoughts. He pictured the party, the music, the laughter, and amidst it all, Charlotte with her lover. The image fueled his resolve. He left shortly after, driving through the quiet streets, the festive lights of the neighborhood a stark contrast to the darkness within him. As he neared the venue, his hands tightened around the steering wheel, his mind a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and a desperate longing for the past. The stage was set for a confrontation that would leave indelible scars, a public spectacle that would unravel the carefully woven tapestry of their lives. Tonight, the truth would come to light, and with it, the inevitable fallout of a love betrayed. The Christmas party was in full swing when William arrived. The venue, a lavish hotel ballroom, sparkled with festive decorations. Strains of classic carols mixed with the sound of laughter and clinking glasses, creating an atmosphere of celebration that felt jarringly out of place to him. William stood at the entrance for a moment, surveying the scene. His eyes quickly found Charlotte, radiant in her red dress, laughing at something her companion said. Beside her was the man from the messages, his arm casually draped over her shoulder. The sight ignited a fire in William's chest, a burning mix of anger and heartache. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the fray. He moved through the crowd, unnoticed at first, his gaze never leaving Charlotte. His presence at the party was unexpected, and he could sense the ripple of surprise as people began to recognize him. Charlotte, engrossed in her conversation, hadn't yet seen him. William watched her, a part of him aching to remember her as she was before, to find some remnant of the woman he had fallen in love with. But that image was shattered by the reality before him. He approached, his steps measured, his heart pounding. As he neared, Charlotte finally saw him. Her smile faltered, her eyes widening in shock and confusion. "William, what?" she began, but he cut her off. "Hello, Charlotte. Enjoying the party?" His voice was steady, but it carried an edge that made her flinch. The man beside her, sensing the tension, introduced himself. "I'm Dave. You must be Charlotte's husband." William nodded curtly, his eyes never leaving Charlotte's. The room seemed to have quieted, their exchange drawing the attention of those nearby. "Dave," William said, his voice louder now, carrying across the room. "I'm glad I could finally meet the man who's been seeing my wife." The words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Charlotte's face drained of color, her eyes darting around the room, landing on the faces of her colleagues, her friends, all now witnesses to her private shame. Dave stepped back, his expression one of disbelief and embarrassment. "Charlotte, you said you were separated," he stammered, his discomfort palpable. William's gaze remained fixed on Charlotte. Tell him, Charlotte. Tell him how you left our children at home to be here with him. Tell him about us. Charlotte was speechless, her lips trembling. The room was eerily silent, all eyes on the unfolding drama. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry," her voice barely audible. Dave, looking betrayed and disgusted, shook his head and quickly exited the ballroom, leaving Charlotte standing alone amidst the sea of stunned faces. William's heart, though heavy with sorrow, felt a bitter sense of satisfaction. He had exposed her infidelity, publicly shamed her as he had intended. But the victory was hollow. Looking at Charlotte, the mother of his children, now a figure of pity and scorn, he felt no triumph, only a profound sense of loss. The silence was eventually broken as people began to murmur and disperse, giving the couple a wide berth. William, his purpose fulfilled, turned to leave, the image of Charlotte's stricken face etched into his memory. As he walked away, the sounds of the party resumed, a stark reminder of how quickly the world moves on, indifferent to the personal tragedies unfolding within it. The night air was cold as he stepped outside, the festive lights of the city blurring into a haze of color as he contemplated the shattered remnants of his family. The morning after the Christmas party dawned bleak and gray, mirroring the desolation that hung heavy in Charlotte's heart. She sat at the kitchen table, a cup of untouched coffee in front of her, her mind replaying the events of the previous night over and over. The humiliation, the hurt in William's eyes, Dave's look of betrayal, it all swirled in her head like a relentless storm. Across town, William sat in his car, parked outside a local park, a place that held memories of family picnics and laughter. Now, those memories felt like echoes from another life. He had achieved what he set out to do, expose Charlotte's betrayal, but the taste of revenge was bitter. The satisfaction he had imagined was instead replaced by a hollow emptiness. Back at home, Charlotte's mind was a tangle of regret and fear. The way her colleagues had looked at her, the whispers she had heard as she'd fled the party, they were seared into her memory. But more than that, it was the realization of what she had lost that cut the deepest. She had betrayed not just her husband, but her family, her children. The children. They were at her mother's house, where she had left them for the night. The thought of facing them, of trying to explain why their father wasn't with her, was overwhelming. But she knew she couldn't avoid it forever. She had to face the consequences of her actions. Meanwhile, William's thoughts were with the children too. He knew they would be full of questions, and he grappled with how to explain the complexities of adult relationships and betrayals to them. How could he make them understand something he himself was struggling to comprehend? As the day wore on, Charlotte returned home to gather her thoughts before going to pick up the children. The house felt empty, a stark reminder of the rift that had grown between her and William. She went to their bedroom, now just hers, and looked at the photo by the bed, a snapshot of a happier time. With a heavy heart, she picked up her keys and left. William, after hours of sitting alone with his thoughts, finally made his way home. The house was quiet, a stark contrast to the usual noise and bustle of family life. He wandered through the rooms, each corner a reminder of a life that now felt irrevocably altered. Evening approached, and Charlotte returned with the children. Their innocent chatter and laughter were a balm to her aching heart, but also a piercing reminder of the joy she had jeopardized. She prepared dinner, a simple affair, the children's voices filling the kitchen. But the empty chair at the table was a silent testament to the absence of their father. William, upstairs in his room, heard the sounds of his family below. He wanted to join them, to wrap his arms around his children and forget everything else. But he couldn't. Not yet. The wound was too fresh, the betrayal too raw. The night passed with an unspoken heaviness. Charlotte put the children to bed, each goodnight kiss a reminder of the stability she had shattered. Downstairs, she sat in the dark, the silence enveloping her. William, alone in his room, stared out the window into the night. The decisions that lay ahead were daunting: how to navigate this new reality, how to co-parent, how to rebuild from the ruins of their marriage. That night, as the house lay quiet, two hearts grappled with the fallout of a love lost, each lost in their own world of regret and uncertainty, each facing a future that was suddenly unclear. In the days that followed the Christmas party, the house that once echoed with warmth and laughter was now steeped in a profound silence, broken only by the occasional sounds of the children. Charlotte and William, now living in the same space but worlds apart, moved through their days like ghosts, haunted by the remnants of a life they once cherished. Charlotte spent her days in introspection, the magnitude of her actions weighing heavily on her. The look of betrayal and hurt in William's eyes that night at the party replayed in her mind incessantly. She had hoped that her affair would fill the void she felt in her marriage, but now she realized it only deepened it. Guilt-ridden, she understood the pain she had caused not just to William, but to their entire family. William, on the other hand, grappled with a maelstrom of emotions. His initial sense of vindication had quickly evaporated, replaced by a profound sadness. The public confrontation, though momentarily satisfying, had not brought him the peace he sought. Instead, it left him questioning whether the price paid, the disruption of their family unit and the hurt caused to their children, was worth it. As Christmas approached, the festive decorations around the house served as a stark reminder of the joyous times they used to share as a family. The children, sensitive to the tension between their parents, tried in their own ways to inject some cheer into the somber atmosphere. One evening, Charlotte attempted to initiate a conversation with William. She expressed her remorse, her understanding of the pain she had caused, and her willingness to accept whatever decision he made about their future. William listened quietly, his expression unreadable. He acknowledged her apology but was noncommittal about their future. The next day, William took a long walk, the cold winter air clearing his mind. He reflected on the years he had spent with Charlotte, the good times and the challenges. He thought about their children and the impact this situation had on them. He realized that while his love for Charlotte had been deeply wounded, his responsibility as a father remained unchanged. On Christmas Eve, with the children excited about Santa's impending visit, Charlotte and William sat down together for a heart-to-heart conversation. It was a difficult discussion, filled with honesty and vulnerability. They spoke about their feelings, their failures, and their fears. By the end of the conversation, it was clear that while their romantic relationship might be over, their partnership as parents was not. They agreed to separate amicably, focusing on co-parenting their children and ensuring they grew up in a loving, stable environment. Christmas Day dawned with a bittersweet feeling. The family opened presents together, the children's laughter a soothing balm to their parents' aching hearts. Charlotte and William put aside their differences for the day, determined to give their children a joyful Christmas. As the day wound down, Charlotte and William watched their children play with their new toys, a sense of peace settling over them. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but they also knew that their love for their children would guide them through it. That night, as the children slept and the house lay quiet, Charlotte and William shared a moment of understanding. They had come full circle, from love to betrayal to a newfound respect and friendship. It was the end of their marriage, but the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one where they would navigate the complexities of life separately, yet always united by the bond of their family.